buckle up, everyone, because we are diving headfirst into Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
Oh, yeah.
Which, is the prequel to the absolutely legendary Fury Road.
Yeah.
And wow, we asked you all to send in your reviews for Furiosa.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, the opinions are all over the place.
Yeah, they really are.
Some people are like cheering from the rooftops and others are like,
what is this?
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
So our mission today is to kind of figure out, what's going on?
Why are people...
What worked, what didn't work?
Right.
And is this movie a worthy, addition to the Mad Max world?
Yeah. Is this a worthy successor?
Or does it just completely flop?
Or is it just like Fury Road, but worse?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
it's an interesting challenge.
It is a challenge.
Making a prequel...
Especially to this movie.
To something as visually stunning as Fury Road.
Oh, my gosh.
And with a theme so powerful.
It's just...
You can't help but compare the two.
And a lot of the reviews I'm seeing are saying that Furiosa just, can't get out from under the shadow...
Of Fury Road.
Of Fury Road.
Right, and it seems like a lot of reviewers can't get past that.
They can't.
And it's almost like they're comparing the two to Furiosa's detriment.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are saying that this one doesn't have
that same kind of driving force.
The urgency that Fury Road had.
Yeah, and one reviewer even said that Furiosa would be a better film if Fury Road didn't exist.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Ouch. That's harsh.
Right.
But Fury Road was a really good movie.
It was so good.
Not just for an action movie, but for just storytelling in general.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
I'm curious, for those who felt let down by this movie, where did it stumble?
I think one of the things that kept coming up was this idea that the story
wasn't there.
It wasn't as deep as Fury Road. A lot of people felt that Fury Road had this clear
objective.
Yeah, almost a mythic quest for redemption and freedom.
Yeah.
And Furiosa just kind of meanders.
Meanders a bit.
A little bit. Yeah, it felt more like they were trying to
just show off
how cool it was.
Yeah, how cool the visuals and the set pieces were.
No.
Instead of telling a good story.
Right.
So style over substance.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the feeling.
Big explosions.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of heart.
Yeah. And one of the reviews even said, it's clearly the lack of purpose that really shocked me. Mad Max was never a movie that we focused on for its stories, but what they did with Furiosa made the whole thing interesting.
Right. Why
she leaves. And we tried to understand that through the whole movie.
Wow.
And so they're really missing that,
driving force?
That driving force.
Of the other movie.
Of Fury Road that was so captivating.
Yeah, but okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Because it's not all negative
right.
in these reviews.
Not everyone feels that way.
Not everyone. I'm seeing a lot of pushback.
Right. On this whole, lack of purpose.
Interesting.
Critique. And some people are actually saying that Furiosa is...
A more complete story.
Because it's not as connected to Fury Road.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right.
So, can a prequel truly stand on its own? Does it have to be, connected to the sequel?
Does it have to prop up?
Or can it forge its own path?
Yeah, can it be its own thing?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing people on both sides
totally.
Of this argument.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that this movie actually makes Fury Road better.
Really?
Because it expands on the world.
Oh, interesting.
And it shows us more about the society and the culture
that
we see in Fury Road.
So it's all about perspective then?
Yeah.
Are we viewing this solely through the lens of Fury Road?
Yeah.
Or can we appreciate it?
As a separate thing.
As its own thing.
Yeah.
As a separate entity.
Okay, well, let's get into the specifics. Because if there's one thing
that we know about Mad Max movies,
they're known for action.
It's the action.
Yeah.
The insane over-the-top action.
Yeah.
And one of the reviews that you sent over even says, basically the whole concept of Mad Max is that we have massive car chases.
Yeah.
Did it deliver?
It seems like it did.
On the action.
Yeah, a lot of the reviewers were praising the action sequences.
Yeah.
The huge scale, the intensity of these chase scenes.
Yeah, and especially that war rig defense sequence.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard so much about that.
That's a big one.
That's supposed to be huge, and people are saying,
oh, yeah.
You have to see this movie on IMAX.
You got to see it in IMAX to get the full effect.
To get the full effect.
Right.
But
there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
There's a catch. So while everyone's praising the stunts for how ingenious they are, there's also a shift towards using more CGI in Furiosa than they did in Fury Road.
Okay, so practical effects versus CGI. That's a whole debate.
That's a whole other thing, and a relevant one.
Yeah.
Because you know the gritty and visceral feel of Fury Road?
You're right there.
You were right there.
In the action.
You could feel it.
You could feel it.
It was so tangible.
Yeah.
And that was because of the practical effects.
Practical effects.
Seeing those real vehicles.
The practical effects.
Seeing those real vehicles.
It's colliding.
Yeah.
Colliding. The explosions.
The explosions happening in real time.
It gave the film this sense of raw, tangible danger.
Danger, yeah.
That's so hard to replicate.
So hard to replicate.
With CGI.
And it's interesting because CGI can do so much.
So much.
It can create fantastical imagery.
Yeah.
But some people are saying that it doesn't have that same feel.
Yeah, it kind of takes you out of it.
It takes you out of it.
Yeah, and one review even said, it's sad to see that Miller has settled for the studio instead of real vehicles and real environments.
Wow.
So they really felt like something was missing. Yeah.
So even though the action is good, the action's good.
There's just something that's...
Something's not quite there.
Not quite there.
Right. And it just shows the challenge that filmmakers face when they're balancing the technology.
With keeping the
feel
of the movie.
The
heart of the movie.
Okay, so speaking of the heart of the movie, let's talk about the characters.
Okay, the characters.
Because what's a Mad Max movie?
What is it?
Without these larger-than-life characters.
Without these crazy characters.
Yeah. And we've got some familiar faces, and we've got...
And some new ones.
Some brand new ones.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, the biggest question mark going into this movie was Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Furious,
because we all remember.
Charlize Theron.
Oh, yeah.
In Fury Road.
So good. So
what's the verdict?
Well, as you may expect, the reviews are very mixed.
Yeah.
Some people thought that Anya Taylor-Joy was captivating.
They loved her expressive eyes.
Uh-huh.
The way she conveyed emotion without even having to say anything.
Right.
But others just couldn't get past
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
And they felt like she was lacking...
She wasn't as...
that ferocity.
Yeah, fierce.
And that commanding presence that Charlize Theron had.
Right. It's that thing about recasting.
Recasting.
An iconic role.
It's a hard thing to do.
It's so hard.
Especially when the original is so good.
And it's like, how do you make it your own?
Right.
But even the people who are critical of Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, they acknowledge that she's a really good actor.
Yeah.
And one comment that I read, they said that Furiosa is much more silent in this film, relying on eyes telling a story of long-burning pain.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was interesting because it seems like that was...
a choice.
A choice by the filmmakers.
It was an intentional choice.
Yeah.
And, you know...
in a world as crazy and loud...
as the Wasteland.
Silence
can be so powerful.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if that was on purpose.
Yeah.
If her lack of dialogue was meant to reflect...
what she's going through.
Yeah, what's going on inside.
Internal.
The trauma she's experienced, you know, navigating this world.
Right.
By observing.
Internalizing rather than externalizing.
Yeah.
I like that.
So her silence is a form of strength.
A form of strength.
A shield against this crazy world.
A shield against a madness.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a fascinating interpretation.
It is.
And it speaks to the depth that she brought to the role.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't what people expected.
Okay. So we've got Furiosa.
Yeah.
She's like the stoic survivor.
Right.
But what about the villain?
The villain.
Every good hero needs a good villain.
They do.
And in this movie...
we've got Chris Hemsworth.
We've got Chris Hemsworth.
As Dementis. And one of the reviews that you sent over even described him as unhinged. Yeah, and seeming to really enjoy playing the villain.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
When actors really get into those roles.
I've seen into it.
And a lot of the reviewers thought he was really funny.
Oh, yeah.
One person even called him a love child of Immortan Joe and the Humongous.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine?
What a visual.
Immortan Joe.
The imposing figure of Immortan Joe.
With like the craziness.
With the craziness.
The humongous.
That's potent.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, seriously.
Yeah.
How is Dementis different from the other villains that we've seen in these movies?
Right, because we've seen a lot of
tyrants.
Yeah, power-hungry figures.
Yeah, what makes him different?
It seems like one of the key differences is that...
He's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, he's got a sense of humor.
Okay.
Which a lot of the reviewers picked up on.
Interesting.
He's described as being verbose, prone to crazy monologues.
So he's a showman.
He's like a showman.
Yeah.
Which makes him even scarier.
Yeah, because you don't know what he's going to do.
You don't know what to expect.
Is he going to blow something up?
Is he going to start singing?
Or give a speech?
Or give a speech.
Oh my gosh.
It's unpredictable.
And that's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Speaking of familiar faces,
yeah,
I noticed that some of the reviews mentioned that we get to see like a younger, less tyrannical
the Morton
Joe in this movie.
What do you think about that?
I think that's interesting because it's like we're getting to see him before
he was a Morton Joe?
Before he was a Morton Joe.
Yeah, before the mask.
Before the mask.
Yeah.
Like the man behind the myth?
Yeah, and that kind of goes into...
like the world building.
The world building.
Yeah, a lot of reviewers mention that.
Yeah.
That they really liked that they were getting to see more of
the world.
More of the world.
Like the Citadel gas town, the Bullet Farm.
Expanding on these locations that we just got a glimpse of in Fury Road.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So we're getting a deeper look at how this world, how it functions.
Yeah.
How does society works.
And I'm seeing some pushback on that.
Really?
Yeah, especially with the visuals.
The visuals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are saying that the CGI is overused.
In
these scenes.
Oh.
Especially when it's like showing us these places.
So we're back
So we're back to practical versus CGI.
Practical versus CGI.
And it's like...
Is it taking away
from the grittiness?
Yeah, the grittiness of it all.
Yeah.
Making it feel less real.
Less real, yeah.
And welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Furiosa.
Yes.
We've kind of decided that it's a really cool-looking movie with action sequences that...
as good as, if not better than Fury Road.
Oh, yeah. I think some of them even surpass those of Fury Road.
For sure.
But we've also touched on this idea that, like...
yeah.
Some people felt like it was missing.
The substance.
The substance of Fury Road. Like that thematic depth that made Fury Road so impactful.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really interesting because like behind the scenes of the car chases and the explosions, there's
something deeper.
There's something deeper going on.
Yeah, and I remember you mentioning this review.
Yeah.
That described the movie as having like theological weight.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the visual set pieces.
Right.
And that just suggests that there's something bigger happening.
There's something more profound going on than just like survival in a wasteland.
There's like a spiritual dimension to it.
Right. It's like they're fighting for something more than
just resources.
Yeah. It's like a human need for meaning and purpose, even in the face of all this chaos.
And I remember another user comment describing it as like a post-apocalyptic Western opera.
I love that.
And it's so perfect.
It is.
Because it's like this grand, mythic.
It is like a Shakespearean tragedy playing out.
Against this backdrop.
Against the backdrop of a dying world.
Yes. And that brings us back to Chris Hemsworth.
As Dementis.
Remember that review that called him a sort of love child of a Morton Joe and the Humongous?
Oh, yeah.
If you think about that for a second, it suggests that
he's more than just a brute.
Yeah, he's not just a physical threat.
Right, he's got that tyrannical power.
Of a Morton Joe.
But he's also got this like theatrical, almost spiritual presence of the Humongous.
It's like he's using that spectacle to manipulate people.
Yeah, to control them.
Yeah.
He's a manipulator.
And it's interesting to contrast that with Furiosa.
Right.
Who's so silent in this film.
Remember Eyes telling a story of long burning pain?
Yes, exactly. And in a world where you've got Dementis, who's just like
so loud
and bombastic, her silence is a form of resistance.
It is. She's not playing his game.
No, she's not.
Yeah. And one reviewer even said, the return of a very verbose character, Dr. Dementis, is a welcome and enriching return to speech in a series of films generally characterized by its dry, nonstop action.
Yeah.
It's like his words are a weapon, just another tool
to control
people.
And she's not having it.
Right.
She represents like a different kind of strength.
Yeah.
It's quiet, but it's there.
It's a quiet strength. And that brings up the question of what her journey even is in this movie.
Because one reviewer said, there's no hero's journey.
Interesting.
But I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it might be too narrow.
I think so too.
A definition.
Because Even if she doesn't, like, transform in a traditional way, her journey is about something more than that.
Right, and if you consider the world building.
Yeah.
The Citadel Gastown Bullet Farm.
It's clear that this movie is as much about the society as it is about her.
It's about the world.
Yeah, the world itself is a character.
The world is a character.
Yeah, with its own history and its own rules.
Absolutely. And one reviewer even said that the story in Furiosa allows viewers to think.
Oh, wow.
Maybe by showing us how this society works, we're forced to confront some hard truths.
Okay, so I'm seeing, like, the bigger picture here.
Okay.
Because if Fury Road was about breaking free from this tyrannical system, Furiosa is about understanding.
Understanding it.
Yeah, how it works.
Yeah.
How it traps people.
Right. It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
Exploration.
It's more complex.
And it requires a more nuanced viewing.
Right, and that brings us back to
the CGI.
To the CGI.
Yeah. Do you think that's why they use so much CGI?
Maybe.
To reflect the themes?
It's a possibility.
Because in Fury Road, we had those practical effects.
Right, you felt the danger.
We felt it.
You were right there.
Right there.
But the CGI in Furiosa...
It gives you like a wider
view of the world. It shows us the scale of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's also a way of showing us, like...
how fragmented.
Yeah, how fragmented this world is.
Everything's broken. No. The people are disconnected from each other.
And that reminds me of that comment about the movie feeling episodic.
Like a greatest hits of Furiosa's life.
And I think that makes sense because if you think about her story... she's been through so much trauma.
Well, loss of her home.
Yeah.
Being a captive.
Her memories are probably fragmented, too.
Yeah, it's like the movie itself
reflects that.
Mirrors that fragmentation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why some people felt like it lacked purpose.
Yeah.
Because the purpose isn't one thing.
Right.
It's this process of piecing together a shattered identity.
Finding meaning in all the chaos.
Yeah.
So it's not your typical hero's journey.
No.
It's more complex and more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think by focusing on her internal struggles, the movie is asking us
to look at
to look at our own lives,
our own experiences,
and how our past shapes us,
right, how it affects us today.
That is deep. But what about the world outside of her experience?
Oh yeah, do we get to see anything about the larger forces at play?
Right.
Well, we do get glimpses.
Okay.
Remember that younger Immortan Joe?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it suggests that even these tyrants were shaped by the same forces.
The same forces that govern the Wasteland.
Right.
Yeah, like a reminder that these cycles of violence, they don't just appear out of nowhere.
They have a history.
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
And then there's that 40-day Wasteland War.
Right, that we hear about.
Yeah.
But we don't really see.
We just get these hints.
Yeah.
And one reviewer even complained about that.
They thought it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, they wanted to see more of it.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the point.
To keep us guessing.
Yeah, to show us that there are these stories that go untold.
Yeah, there's more to this world.
There's more to the...
than we see.
Than what we see.
Okay, so even though it focuses on Furiosa, Furiosa still asks some big questions.
About power survival, the nature of this world.
And that's what makes it so interesting.
Right. It's not just a spectacle.
Yeah, it makes you think.
It makes you think.
Okay, well, we've gone pretty deep here.
We have.
But don't worry, listeners. We're going to lighten things up.
A little bit.
In the next segment.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the costumes. The vehicles.
Yeah, all the cool details.
Maybe even some of our favorite quotes.
I like it.
All right, so we've talked about the story, the themes, all that deep stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's time to talk about, like, the fun stuff.
This spectacle.
Yeah, the visuals.
That eye candy.
Yes, the eye candy of Furiosa.
Yeah, because you can't have a Mad Max movie without...
the crazy costumes.
Yeah.
The insane vehicles.
The over-the-top designs.
All the little details.
Yeah, all those details.
That make this world so captivating.
And Furiosa does not disappoint.
Does not.
A lot of the reviewers are raving about...
the designs.
The creativity, the artistry.
One person even described Dementis' truck as a beast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can just imagine.
I bet it's huge.
And remember, he's that love child of Immortan Joe and the Humongous.
Oh, yeah.
So I can only imagine what he looks like.
What he's wearing.
Yeah.
It's got to be wild.
What else did the reviews say?
Well, about
the costumes and vehicles.
There are some mixed feelings.
Really?
Yeah. Some people thought that the designs were a little too
Too perfect.
Yeah, a little too polished.
Like they were missing
that grittiness.
Yeah, the rawness.
Yeah, the rough edges.
The authenticity.
Yeah, one reviewer said they loved the steampunk constructed vehicles and bikes, but another reviewer felt like it was too designed, like it missed that believable mishmash of like salvaged parts that we saw in the earlier movies.
So it's like, are these designs really true to like...
Yeah, are they true to the Wasteland?
The Wasteland.
That feeling of like...
making do with what you have.
Yeah, that scrappy ingenuity.
Yeah.
But even the people who had critiques acknowledged how cool it looked.
How cool it looked, yeah.
And remember that quote about the spectacle of hellish visions?
Oh, yeah.
That tells you right there that there was thought put into this.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about function.
There was a purpose behind it.
Yeah, these designs are meant to provoke.
Yeah.
To unsettle, to tell their own story.
And it's like every little detail.
Every detail.
Yeah, every dent, every scratch.
Every piece of armor.
Tells a story.
It shows how resilient these people are.
Yeah.
That they can create beauty out of nothing.
Right.
In this desolate world.
Absolutely. And that makes me think about like the language of this world.
The way they talk.
Yeah, the way they talk.
Not just what they do, but what they say.
Yeah. Did you come across any like really memorable quotes?
Oh, yeah, there were a few.
Oh, tell me.
Well, there's this one from Dementis. He says, "You fabulous thing, you crawled out of a pitiless grave, deeper than hell. Only one thing that is going to do that for you. Not hope, hate. No shame in hate. It's one of the greatest forces of nature."
Wow. That's...
chilling.
It is chilling,
Yeah.
and it tells you so much about him.
He's not just a warlord, he's a manipulator.
Yeah.
He knows how to use words to control people.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to convince Furiosa that hate is the only way to survive.
And it's interesting to contrast that with Furiosa.
Who's so quiet.
Yeah.
She's like this quiet defiance.
Yeah.
Against all the noise and chaos.
Of this world.
Not the Wasteland.
Okay, I gotta ask, without giving anything away,
okay.
Do any of the reviews talk about how Furiosa connects to Fury Road?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
There has to be something.
Well, I'm not going to spoil anything.
Go ahead.
But there is mention of a scene after the credits.
After the credits, okay.
That involves Nux's crow-shaped bobblehead from Fury Road.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just a little something for the fans.
Yeah, I love those little connections.
Yeah.
But what about the ending?
The ending...
Does it leave you feeling hopeful, or...?
That's hard to say, because the reviews are all over the place. Some people loved it, some people didn't.
Yeah.
But a lot of them mentioned that the movie ends right before...
Fury Road.
Yeah.
Right before Fury Road.
So we don't know what happens to Furiosa.
It's ambiguous.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's like there's still...
The struggle continues.
Yeah, there's still so much to explore.
And that's fitting for a Mad Max story. It's like, even after all that, they've been through...
And the Wasteland's still there.
The Wasteland's always going to be there.
Yeah, it's a character in itself.
It is a character.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
With Furious.
A lot of ground.
We talked about the mixed reaction.
Yeah, the comparisons to Fury Road.
The themes, the visuals.
The performance.
Those big questions.
About survival.
And the search for meaning.
In a crazy world.
In a world gone mad.
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener?
Yeah.
What will you take away from this?
I think the big takeaway is that Furiosa needs to be seen.
On its own.
On its own. Yeah.
Not as just a prequel.
Not just a Fury Road spin-off.
Its own story.
It's its own unique and challenging story about memory, about character.
It's about hope.
About hope
in
the face of hardship.
Beautifully said. And maybe the final thought we should leave you with is this.
Okay.
Remember that one reviewer who said the movie felt episodic?
Yeah, like a greatest hits.
Yeah, but what if it was a series?
Oh, wow.
Like a multi-part series.
Each episode delving deeper.
Yeah, into her past, her struggles, her triumphs.
I would watch that.
We would all watch that.
We would.
Because there's so much there to explore.
There is.
And sometimes the best stories are the ones that leave us wanting more.
Yeah, make us think.
Yeah.
Make us use our imagination.
Exactly so. Until next time, keep those engines roaring and those minds engaged.